Hello, I'm Nate, aka B-Tier Mutineer. I usually make guides and discussion videos about games I enjoy, particularly RPGs. Today, I want to share with you the mods I use in Dragon Age Inquisition. I think Inquisition is a very solid game, but it does get frustrating with time due to some gameplay mechanics and animations, and I also like to make some visual changes to it. Before we get into the list of the mods I use, I'll explain how modding Inquisition works for anyone who hasn't modded the game yet and wants to learn how to do it. It's going to be a short and simplified version of a mod install guide in case you don't have the time to watch a super long guide. There are two main types of mods, ones that are made for the Frosty mod manager, Frosty, and ones that are made for the DAI mod manager, DAIMM. Since the creation of these mod managers, Frosty is now able to load most DAIMM mods, which have the .daimod extension, so they will often be referred to as Daimods. But personally, I prefer to keep Frosty mods and Daimods separate because there can still be issues when importing Daimods to Frosty. It's not difficult to install mods for Inquisition, though it does take a little bit if you're installing them through both mod managers. Feel free to skip this if you already know how to mod Inquisition and just want to get to the list. Timestamps are in the description. First off, download all the mods that you want to install, making sure that you aren't downloading multiple mods that affect the same thing. Those will conflict with each other and cause issues in the game. Move the archives you downloaded into separate folders, one for Frosty mods, the other for Daimods, and extract the archives into their respective folder. If you don't have any mods installed yet for Inquisition, you just need to download the mod managers and install the mods through them. Download the DAI mod manager and run it as administrator. In the mod path, you choose the folder where you extracted all your Daimods. In the Dragon Age path, you choose your game's installation folder. All the mods you have in the Daimod folder should appear in a list on the left, including the official patch by BioWare at the very top. Just click merge and wait for it to finish. You may get some warnings or issues during the merging process, and that's usually fine. After merging the patch with these Daimods, you have to go into your game installation folder, in the update folder, and delete the folder named patch. That is the original patch of the game, which you can just get back later if you need it by repairing the game. Then rename the patch_mod manager folder into patch. That's it. Now you've installed the DAIMM mods. Installing Frosty mods comes after you install Daimods, if you want to have both Daimods and Frosty mods, since you need to have that merged patch folder done before you install things through Frosty. Download Frosty mod manager, run it as administrator, and then either scan for games or choose new, and navigate to your Dragon Age Inquisition exe file from your installation folder. After you've chosen Inquisition, you highlight it on the list and click select, and a new window will open. In this window, you need to go to Add Mods under the Available Mods tab. I recommend adding each mod one by one because sometimes if you add too many mods at once, Frosty can become unresponsive. After you add all your mods to the list on the left, you also have to go to each one and click on the Apply Mods button. If you apply them, they will show up with a checkmark in a list on the right. You can disable them at any time by clicking the checkmark or clicking X to remove them from the applied list. Or you can remove them entirely with the Remove Mods button above the Available Mods list. When you're done adding and applying all the mods, click on the Launch button. The first time you do this, it will take longer because it needs to apply all the mods, and you will also need to click OK when it prompts you to allow it to do this process. If you did everything correctly, and your mods aren't conflicting or causing other issues, your game should launch normally. From now on, if you have Frosty mods installed, you'll always have to start your game through Frosty with this launch button, not from the game's shortcut. In order to make this process easier, I recommend making a shortcut of Frosty mod manager on your desktop and choosing in its properties to always run as administrator. If you do already have mods but want to install extra ones, it depends on whether you want to install Frosty mods, Daimods, or both. If you just want to install Frosty mods, then you only need to add the new mods in your Frosty mod manager. If you want to install Daimods, then you first need to delete the patch and mod data folders from your installation directory, then repair the game through EA App or Steam before following the same steps I described before to install the mods. Now that I've explained how to mod the game, let me take you through the list of mods I personally use in Dragon Age Inquisition. I'll start with the Daimods. First up, the DAI community patch by Hamlopteran. I downloaded this mod all the way back in December 2016, and I have no idea if it's still needed or if BioWare ended up fixing the bugs that this fan patch took care of, but I've had it installed since 2016, so I won't stop using it now. If you are a more knowledgeable person than me about whether this community patch is needed or not at this time, please let us know in the comments. Skippable Skyhold Journey by Anhamirak allows you to skip the cutscene of the Inquisition's journey to Skyhold. I am the kind of person who replays the first quarter or so of a game over and over again. I am also the kind of person who feels extreme secondhand embarrassment from the terrible singing during this awful cutscene. and it's such a long cutscene that I was bored even the first time I played through the game, so having the option to skip it is amazing. Another great mod by Anhamirak is Skip Scouting the Hinterland Cinematic. I only recommend this one for people who have already played the game and who find that Hinterland Scouting Cinematic to be tedious to rewatch. It replaces a cutscene with a 5-second duration BioWare logo. It ends much faster than the previous cutscene, and you can get right to exploring the hinterlands or whatever else you want to do. There is also a Frosty mod that removes the cinematic, which I'll mention in the Frosty section if you prefer that mod manager. And the final mod I use by Anhamirak is No More Grave Desecration. This is related to the Unadin Grotto in the Exalted Plains, which you would normally only be able to unlock by desecrating the Dalish graves to find 3 key pieces that open the door. With this mod, the key pieces are added to the Dalish camp store, a nice way to allow you to obtain a mosaic piece without desecrating Dalish graves. It also makes sense that if you help out the Dalish enough for them to trust you to trade with you, they may trade those relics with you. Maybe they found those key fragments and didn't really know what to do with them, and figure that the Inquisition may have experts who would be able to figure it out. I don't necessarily always want to open Unadin Grotto, but I would imagine that a Dalish Inquisitor would be interested in exploring the Exalted Plains to find various elven relics, and I really don't want to desecrate those graves with a Dalish Inquisitor. A mod that is super important to me is Invisible Spiders by Aintiarna. I have severe arachnophobia even when I see spiders in video games. Not all spiders, but the ones in Inquisition definitely give me a huge ick. This mod makes all spiders invisible, yes, even the ones in cutscenes and in the Fade. It's obviously not the most elegant solution. The mod author was originally intending to make them look like nugs, but couldn't get the animations to work. But even so, it's a lifesaver for me, and I imagine anyone else who has arachnophobia. Quicker Looting by Tahira disables the looting animation, allowing you to instantly loot items without having to watch the character go through the same looting animation over and over again. This may on the surface seem to be a personal annoyance remover, and maybe it is, but you have to understand I've been playing this game for 10 years. That looting animation, especially when you're looting crafting ingredients, is way too long and becomes grating after a while. Resplendent Inquisition, a faction recolor mod by Honor Knight 26, recolors the Inquisition heraldry, furniture, decor, and uniforms into a different color scheme. I find the green that BioWare ended up going with to represent the Inquisition to be puke-inducing, and certainly not suggesting a powerful military and political organization. I liked the red that they had in their concept art, and I think it looks very nice paired with silver, so I used the red and silver recolor. I found through trial and error that Frosty doesn't like these faction recolor mods much and can cause visual glitches to happen in various places, the Mage Quest in Hushed Whispers being one of them. If you're already planning on using the DAI mod manager for some of these other mods I mentioned, then I recommend using the Daimod files for this faction recolor. Frosty may work, but it could also be glitchy. These have been the DAIMM mods I use. Other than the Resplendent Inquisition one, which has Frosty files as well, you may be able to install the Daimod files through Frosty for the other ones, but I personally haven't tried it, so I'm not 100% sure it'll work. Moving on to the Frosty mods. Complete War Table Operations Without Waiting for Frosty by Parab edits every single War Table operation, including all DLCs, to have no wait time and complete instantly. There are a few exceptions where operations need to take a short amount of time, under 2 minutes, so that they don't bug out. I never understood why the war tables had such huge wait times, often 1 hour or even 8 or more, when this is a completely single-player game. It feels very MMO-like. I would have understood if they wanted to add some wait time, such as 10-15 minutes, maybe half an hour or an hour for large operations, to make you feel like some time passed between starting and completing the op. But hours for a simple op that gives you a crappy weapon? Dozens of hours for a DLC mount? No thank you. I highly recommend this mod. Improved Search Frosty by Jenica increases the search radius and duration and removes the line of sight requirement. This is another one of those quality of life mods that you'll find useful if you play the game for many years. Not essential, but it makes the search feature far more useful and you have to press the button less times overall. Helps you avoid the Revelio effect from Hogwarts Legacy. I use the 10-second duration version. Winter in Thedas Seasons Overhaul or Autumn in Thedas Seasons Overhaul by Caffeine Painter makes the game look very different, so I recommend using one of them if you're someone who has already played through the game at least once. I used the Autumn mod for a few years, but now I recently installed the Winter one and have been enjoying the new scenery. Feels very cozy and makes me want to have a warm drink to enjoy alongside the game. The mod author also has a spring version, but I hate it because it has a lot of flowers and makes me think of my pollen allergies. Still, you may want to use it for your playthrough. Due to the fact that Caffeine Painter has 3 such season overhauls, I'll just include a link to their author page where you can find their Inquisition mods. Less shards please, an Oculara rebalance by Sarah W. significantly reduces the number of Ocularum and shards in the game, and reduces the number of shards necessary to open all the doors in Solasun in the Forbidden Oasis. I enjoy this mod for two reasons. For one, I don't like collecting random things in games, especially when the total number is so high, 126 shards with Jaws of Hakken included. The second reason is that it's really weird for there to be so many shards just randomly strewn around the entire world that people haven't already found, and also kind of weird for there to be so many different Oculara considering what they're made of. Sprint Key by Wavebend ports a sprint ability from multiplayer to single player, allowing you to hold left shift or left thumb to sprint, in or out of battle. The animation is based on a two-handed weapon, so it will look weird with other weapons, but this mod is so good to have even if it looks a bit awkward. Your mounts don't go any faster than you, and sometimes areas are quite empty, or you need to backtrack a lot to finish a quest or find a special item, or maybe like me, you've played the game so many times that you just don't have the patience to slowly jog through the areas. I love the sprint key mod, and I've already had people ask me about it in the Inquisition guides I previously made for Cassandra and Varric. More Power Needed or Received by Apomorph causes all quests or missions to cost more power, and optionally for you to receive more power from closing Fade Rifts. I personally only use the More Power Needed file, the one that makes them cost twice their original cost. The Scout the Hinterlands quest remains unchanged at 1 power since you can't get more than 1 power before unlocking the Hinterlands. You've seen that on this list I generally have mods that reduce the amount of effort I need to put into the game, but this mod is an exception. I think that BioWare made the power costs of main quests far too small compared to the amount of side content they included in each area. The infamous Hinterlands problem wouldn't feel like as much of a problem anymore if the power costs of the main quests were higher. You get stuck because you want to explore the Hinterlands and do as many quests as you can before moving on. Great, because the quest to appeal to the Chantry and Valryo, as well as the ones to contact the Mages or Templars now cost more, either twice or 3 times the original cost, and you'll be able to finish up the things you find most interesting or important in the Hinterlands, as well as in the Storm Coast, before you feel like the game is pushing you to continue the main questline. No More Paraphrasing is another amazing mod by Apomorph, which removes most of the paraphrasing options in the dialogue wheel and replaces them with the actual spoken dialogue. There are still some dialogue lines that were kept vanilla, mostly because it would have taken a huge amount of work and time to change them. For multi-line dialogues, the mod author picked the most representative line to serve as its selector. I love this mod because I've always hated the paraphrase options and wished for BioWare to return to the very nice full dialogue lines we had in Origins. I'm autistic and I have trouble understanding what my character is going to say just based on a short paraphrased line, and worse, I get upset with what my character ends up saying because I was expecting something different. With this mod, I'm far more confident at least most of the time that I'm picking the right dialogue option for my character. Nullify Fall Damage Frosty by Padme 4000 does exactly what it says on the tin. It's quite annoying to have fall damage in a game that is otherwise not all that realistic, has a terrible jump, and requires you to use said terrible jump to reach various difficult places for loot. Not to mention whenever an archer companion uses Leaping Shot and ends up falling from a hill. This doesn't do anything to the max distance you can fall before the game reloads, but it's so good to not have to worry about accidentally falling down a slope while you're exploring. I use the Party Banter tweaks by Artofield to reduce the amount of time that it takes for Party Banter to trigger. There tends to be a lot of silence as you're adventuring, especially in the wilder areas, and I do enjoy listening to Party Banter, so I like that this mod makes you hear it more often. I chose the 5 to 10 minute version. Requisition Officer Off plus Hell Hal by No One Knows 1 has 2 versions. The basic version silences the annoying requisition officer who always accosts you in camp and forces you into dialogue about requisitions. The Plus version adds to this some features. Various repeating ambient dialogues or comments will only be heard once, plus some things such as being able to open all the Hala doors in Halam Sharal. I recommend at least installing the basic version of this because that requisition officer is absolutely insane. Every single time you travel to camp, she'll want to talk to you unless you have a requisition active. Stormtrooper, not a Star Wars mod by No One Knows 1, allows you to run through the snow instead of limp slowly after the first confrontation with Corypheus. That trudging through the snow scene is so annoying even on your first playthrough, because all you can do is hold the forward button and watch your character struggling to move. In the vanilla version, it takes almost 4 minutes to finish the sequence of hold W to limp through the snow. With the mod, the author managed to do it in 1 minute and 22 seconds. Way better. I had completely forgotten this mod existed, and was very happy to find it hidden away in a folder. I reinstalled it through Frosty immediately. Another mod by No One Knows 1 that I've just discovered is Die Prologue Demon. This allows you to kill the Prologue Pride Demon much faster. In the vanilla game, BioWare for some reason decided to make this a scripted fight which involves disrupting the Fade Rift a certain amount of times. It makes no sense, it takes way too long, it feels like your attacks and abilities are barely doing any damage because they are. I always hate these scripted encounters that can only be completed in one correct way, so even though this is more of a cheat mod, I don't care. Especially with how often I like to restart the game with a new character, that Pride Demon encounter is awful. Extremely glad I found this mod. Finally, if you don't want to use the Daimods that replaces the Hinterland scouting cutscene with a 5-second BioWare logo, then No One Knows One also made a Frosty mod that removes the Hinterlands cutscene. It's called Hinterlands Cutscene Cut. You only need to use one of these two mods that removes the cutscene. Personally, I already had the Daimod one by @Hamirak, so I didn't bother reinstalling all my mods to get this one instead. I've left the companion and NPC retextures for last. Every person will have their own preferences when it comes to the appearance of the characters, so I'm only including these on the list for the sake of completeness. If you don't like them, don't use them. Simple as that. First, you need to know that if you're planning on using a companion retexture with Frosty, you have to install the DAI Frosty texture glitch fixes by Padme4000. I have mods that change the appearance of Blackwall and Solus, so I downloaded the first main file on the list, which includes separate files for each companion, and chose to install the ones for Solus and Blackwall. I also have the companion and NPC skin tints related to the companion and advisor skin tints, since I have a mod that replaces Josephine's dress. For companions, it's best to only install the ones for the companions you're changing the appearance of, and I recommend against changing the appearance of all of the companions because the game can slow down, glitch, or even crash if you have too many companions modded. For Blackwall, I used the Blackwall Warden of the North mod by Elvici. To me, vanilla Blackwall looks like an unwashed hobo and I just find him repulsive. I understand that he's supposed to look like someone else and that's why he let his beard grow, but I just can't stand looking at him. I used the Breaking Badwall version in which he has a mohawk and stubble. For Solus, I used the Solus Retexture Fenharel mod by Mumtherford. Similarly to Blackwall, I couldn't stand Solus's vanilla appearance. He looked way too much like a super bald version of Nicolas Cage and I couldn't take him seriously. This mod gives him short hair and some scars on his face, and like this, I can usually forget the fact that he looks like Nicolas Cage. Usually. I use a version with the less receded hairline. Finally, Lady Josephine outfit retextures by Lady Godiva makes Josephine's dress look more Renaissance-like, replacing the weird shiny gold fabric she has in the vanilla game. Her vanilla outfit isn't bad per se, but the golden material is strange, especially when compared to the materials that other people's clothes are made of. This mod actually has files for both Frosty and DAIMM, so if you're only planning on using one of these mod managers, you can download the correct version for it. I personally use the light blue shore outfit. These have been all the mods I use in Dragon Age Inquisition. Over the years, I've amassed quite a hefty list of mods. I still use far more mods for Origins, of course, but DAO is much easier to create mods for than Inquisition because it has a toolset. The main reason you can't find as many mods for DAI is because it's made in the Frostbite engine, which is notoriously difficult to mod. Thankfully, there are many knowledgeable and skilled people who cared about Inquisition enough to figure out how to create mods and shared this information with others. Extremely grateful to all the creators for the effort they put into these mods. They've made my experience playing Inquisition so much more enjoyable and have kept me replaying the game far more often than I would have played the vanilla version. If you use any mods that you think are cool that I didn't mention here, do let us know in the comments. I myself am always interested in finding out about new mods, and I'm sure other people would also appreciate it. No links please, but as long as you tell us the name and author of the mod, we should be able to find it. Thank you. If you're looking forward to more videos about Dragon Age and other games I like, do remember to subscribe, and leave a like and comment while you're at it too. They really help. A special thank you to my members, who help keep this channel running. I'd really appreciate it if you'd consider joining the channel as a member to support me and unlock perks like early access to videos. This has been B-Tier Mutineer. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.